Let me guess, you signed up for every free lead magnet and binged on every marketing YouTube video and thought, what am I missing? Why isn't my business exploding like that? Well, I can tell you, you're not alone. Whether you're just getting started or have an established business, entrepreneurship can be really lonely. But it doesn't have to be. Overcoming your fear of launching or building your personal brand or figuring out how to scale, it shouldn't be holding you back. It should be empowering you. On this podcast, we're going to deep dive into the mechanics of what it takes to build your brand, make your mark, and stake your claim in the digital marketing space. I'll be chatting with people from all walks of life and stages in their careers. I will be getting inspiration from real experts who will share their actual strategies and techniques to grow loyal and raving followings and sell more stuff. This is entrepreneurship from people who are already there making it happen. My name is Jeff Mendelson. Join me and welcome to the One Big Tip podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Jeff Mendelson, and this is the One Big Tip podcast. Today, I am speaking with Scott Aaron. Scott is a best-selling author, speaker, and business coach, and today we're going to be talking about all things LinkedIn. Scott, I don't want to steal your thunder, but welcome to the show.
Jeff, thank you so much. It's an honor and pleasure to be here and looking forward to giving some tips and takeaways.
Cool. So we were just talking earlier. You were going through a little bit of your hero's journey. I was wondering if you could take a few minutes to introduce yourself and explain to everyone where you're at and what makes you amazing.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Scott Aaron. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I now live in southern New Jersey in an area called Marlton, which is about 50 miles west of the Jersey Shore. I am a best-selling author, speaker, podcaster, and business coach. And I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I was sharing with Jeff, obviously, in the pre-show, that part of my superpowers, number one, is being resilient, and number two is overcoming obstacles. And I learned this at a very young age when my father was incarcerated for insurance fraud when I was 18 and a half, almost 19. And I had to actually take over the family business at the time, which was a health club, and ended up having an amazing 18-year career as a personal trainer, sports nutritionist, multi-gym owner. And what I really realized is what made me amazing was the fact that, we always talk about the 10,000 hour, 10-year habit. And I spent about 65,000 hours of personal training in my career, an additional 10,000 hours recently doing my LinkedIn coaching. And what I realized, what I'm amazing at is creating human connection, is listening to people, is hearing what their problems are and coming up with a solution for them. And what I also came to find is that the people that listen the most are the ones that can help the most people, because when you're just kind of thinking of the next thing to say, instead of really being an active listener from what that person is telling you, you can never really truly understand how you can help them. That's something that I've taken into every single one of my businesses, which could have been my personal training, my gyms, my boot camps, obviously now my coaching and consulting. And that's what truly makes me stand out more so than some other people out there maybe doing the same thing.
So that's really cool that you said. I mean, you do have a storied background, but first of all, you also came out of it, with a lot of grace, a lot of power as well, right? In that you were able to take the positive sides of that experience and turn it into something that basically you can pay forward. You can teach and give to other people in order to help their lives become great as well. The one thing that we were going to talk about today was your emphasis on human connection, right? So you have a program that deals with building profiles and building engagement on LinkedIn. Does not require automation, does not require paying for premium or a sales navigator. What's your one big tip?
Well, it's one big tip broken down into 4 components. I called this the layer cake of LinkedIn, and it starts with your profile. Your profile is where people go to see what you do and how credible you are. But when Microsoft bought LinkedIn out about 4.5 years ago, they embedded search engine optimization onto our profiles because they started to realize that people were starting to use the search engine of LinkedIn much like they would Google or Yahoo. So if you don't have the right keywords spread out around your profile, whether it's your headline, your About Me section, your experience section, you're going to be basically invisible. So letting people know what you do, not selling and pitching, not selling and telling, but really informing people and educating them on what you do and how you help others. You got to make sure that every section is filled out. And obviously, your audience will get a free gift from me. It's a free profile downloader. It's 6 steps to perfecting your profile on LinkedIn, which we can talk about at the end. But it always starts with your profile. The second part of that is actually making sure that you're building a network that is the correct and direct reflection of you. We're always looking for the mirror image of ourselves. So when you can define your business avatar, when you can define your client or customer that is going to best get results from what you do, all you have to do is search and connect with them. So when you build an audience, when you build a connection base, which on LinkedIn you're allowed 30,000 connections, that you can network with these people, you can converse with these people, you can pass referrals back and forth with these people, it's going to give you the exposure that you need. And again, this is done by hand. You don't need any automation software. It's funny that we're talking about this because I did an Instagram story yesterday going over just, success, and there's a lot of fallacies out there that people are kind of plugging into. And I always ask a question. You can add a question to the story. And I checked this morning and there was like 30 responses. 2 were real, 28 were auto responses. Some of them had nothing to do. My question was, what does human connection mean to you? And 16 of those automated responses were exactly the same. Hey, do you want inspiring content? DM me. So people are now trying to automate the most important part of building a business, which is your human connection. So really being in the trenches and connecting with people the right way, which brings me to the third aspect of the 4 layers, which is messaging people. And this is something that I call the magic formula. It's 3 steps. Number 1, when you reach out to someone on LinkedIn, you start by mentioning their name. Hey, Jeff, great to connect with you. The second step is letting the person know why you're reaching out without pitching or selling anything. I saw you had a podcast, as do I, would love to hear more about it and see how we can best support each other here on LinkedIn. So I've done 2 things there. Number 1, I've mentioned the connecting point between you and I, where it's going to create relatability. And it's going to be like, well, that makes sense. He's got a podcast. I got a podcast. That's why he's reaching out. Third part is finishing with something called a CTA, a call to action. You have to ask to get. You have to ASK to GET. If you don't finish with a question, you're never going to get a response. So I would finish by saying, do you have any time this week or next week to hop on a call? So people think that it's super easy because it is. But Jeff, what you have to understand as human beings, if something is too good to be true, and if something seems too easy, as human beings, we do whatever we can to make it difficult. So when I teach something of what I do, they're like, Scott, that just sounds too easy. I'm like, because it is. Why do you think I want to teach this? Because it's simple. Success is made simple when it's done in the small doses that you do it compounded over time.
Because if you go and just smash them over the head, like, hey, you want to buy from me today? Boom, that's not going to help. But if you give them some kind of imperative, and it really is about asking for the sale, what can we do in order to move this forward? Because you always want to create that action so that they almost feel compelled to respond, whether positive or negative, right? You want them to at least come back and say, okay, yeah, let's talk a little bit more, or no, thank you. It also gives them a good face to opt out of it, if you will.
And it can't be done through Messenger. It's got to be done over the phone or on a Zoom. When people remove themselves, their voice or their face, from any aspect of trying to create a relationship or a sale, you don't have a shot in hell. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Most people suck at sales because they actually suck at connecting with other people. Yes, it's a numbers game, but it's always quality over quantity. The quality people always lead to the quantity of people. So when you're more specific and you're more direct in why you're reaching out, when there is no intended purpose, when you don't have an attachment to the outcome, when you are giving, you're going to get back in return. And that's the point of reaching out the right way. And I can't tell you, Jeff, how many drunkalog messages I get on LinkedIn. And I know it's an auto responder, but I also know that, people like, oh, I'm sorry, I haven't messaged you for a few days. Well, I haven't responded because I don't want to hear from you. It's a very straightforward thing. People either are doing it the right way or they're doing it the wrong way. The fourth part is actually the content, which right now, LinkedIn is going through a Facebook 2012 moment. Engagement is the highest it's ever been, but it's also the highest on all of social media. The reach is incredible. And you need to produce one piece of content a day. Now, that could be an article, that could be a poster, that could be a video, but that content has to speak directly to that audience that you've been building. Everything has to make sense. The profile needs to speak to that ideal person. The connections that you're sending out have to be the ideal people. The way that you message them has to be in the ideal, but also the most genuine way. And then the content that you put out there has to speak to people, not what you want to talk about, what they want to hear. You have to put yourself in the shoes of the customer, the client, or the potential buyer. And there's two things that you need to do. Number one, you need to educate your audience. And number two, you need to inform your audience. You want to close more sales? You want to build a better following? You want to create more trust? Educate and inform instead of selling and telling. And literally those 4 layers of using LinkedIn will separate you from everyone else. And that's my one big tip.
That is amazing, Scott. Thank you so much for that. How can people reach out to you, get this free download, the infographic that you talk about? And also, you have a course that goes through this.
Everything is on my website, scottaaron.net. There's going to be a special link. It's going to be scottaaron.net/one-big-tip, where you can get this free download. I have 2 courses. I have a virtual DIY course that's 8 videos. It's about an hour and 45 minutes, and it walks you through everything that needs to be done at your own pace and your own speed. And then I do have some one-on-one business consulting and coaching, which includes the DIY course and 6 30-minute customized and recorded Zoom sessions with me, with ongoing virtual support after. So I always jokingly tell people, once they work with me, they're stuck with me. So if you're really looking for results, that's something that I really pride myself on, is being very high accountable to getting people big results from what they can do on LinkedIn.
That's amazing, Scott. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate you taking the time to break down that one big tip into easy to manage layers, so that, it's something that you can implement step by step. It's not some lofty goal. It really is easy, step by step, things that I can implement today. So thank you very much for that. Just one last thing then. Regarding the program that you have, this is not a recurring type program. It's a one-time engagement. It's a one-time fee. Like, how do you manage that afterwards, after you've done the mentoring and all that? Like, how do you still manage to stay engaged with all those people, even after they've completed the personal program that you're personally involved with?
Yeah, I mean, the personal program is great because it's 6 weeks. And after they actually have all the recordings, I give them an SOP, standard order of procedure, of what they need to do on LinkedIn. So they're in full control of what they need to do. And then I give them the option of how they want to continue with accountability. And they have 2 options. We can do monthly check-ins via Zoom. So once a month, we do a quick 10 or 15-minute Zoom just to kind of go over how things are going, answer any questions they have. Or they just have unlimited virtual access. So some people say, I'm good. I'll email you or text you if I have any questions along the way. So I actually don't tell people how I want to hold them accountable. I ask them how they want to be held accountable, and they let me know. So I believe in over delivering on everything that I do. And it goes back to when I was a personal trainer for 18 years. I can help you as much as I can, but in the end, you need to help yourself. I'm going to give you the recipe for success, and it's your job to follow the steps of what I taught you. And the cure all for being stuck and not being where you want to be is taking action. And as long as you follow the steps of what I outlined for you, you will see results over time.
Amazing, man. Scott, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time to go over all this.
Absolutely, Jeff. It's been an honor and a privilege. And thank you again for having me. And I hope I left your audience better.